I am.
Hi, Ann.
Hi, how are you guys?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good.
Aaron, seeing Ann reminded me that I went on the website today to get the agenda and look at the application documents.
Yes.
How hard a process is it to update our website? So Ann's listed as a member, and I don't think,
Oh, yes. Thank you. I will email Rita and have her update.
and I think Martin, I don't
And
think
Martin maybe
I don't
too,
think
right?
Martin's listed either.
I have a feeling we have several updates we could make across the board here.
I know you have tons of stuff to do, but
Hi, John.
Hi, how are you?
hi, John.
Well, how are you?
I'm just getting over the COVID.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So
How are you? How are you
hopefully
feeling?
hopefully I won't fall asleep. It wasn't that bad.
We'll try to keep things moving for you.
How you feeling? Did it hit you pretty bad?
Just tired, that's all.
Oh, good.
It wasn't that bad, but being homebound though is a nuisance.
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, Kayla. Hi, Martin.
Hi. So we're waiting for Joe and Bob.
Yes.
Should we give them we have four of us plus Anna, so do you think we can start?
Oh, here's Joe.
Okay. Then we can start.
Yes. He joined on the other side, sorry.
Okay. All right. Are you there, Joe? Yes. Well, I'm gonna, he must be there. Okay, so I would like to open the Inland Wetlands Agency meeting of July 11th, 2022 at 7:04 PM. Our first item on the agenda is a change in our agent. So John DeLora has is back to his other full-time job. And so we have Aaron, who is qualified to give us advice on wetlands. And so what we need to do is make a motion to, well, hopefully make a motion to replace John DeLora with Aaron Maddox to be, as it says on the agenda, our duly authorized agent for the Madison Inland Wetland and Watercourse Agency. Are there?
I'm happy to just chime in, just to
Go ahead.
give you a brief background. So John has very graciously served as interim inland wetland officer since Bob Cookta's retirement almost 4 years ago. So as of July 1st, we did transition over and relieve John of his duties as wearing two hats for both CEO and inland wetland officer. And luckily or unluckily, we have a second staff member who is qualified to be the agent. I have also completed the deep course. I did it way back in 2001 and have served in the capacity of inland wetland officer and environmental officer for my previous employers, both with the town of Guilford and with the city of Norwalk. So I'm happy to step in for another interim position so that we don't miss a beat here as far as inspections, agent approvals, things of that nature, and also to provide some staff guidance to the commission where necessary and appropriate. So we're hoping to fill our environmental planner position in the second quarter of this year. So we'll, my request is that you would authorize me to be your duly authorized agent, and until further appointments of someone else, but it'll at least be through September, October of this year, just so we can plan ahead.
Okay. Questions for Aaron?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
I move that we authorize Aaron Mannix to be our inland wetland and watercourse agent.
I'll second the motion.
All right. We lost Joe,
Yes, he's going to rejoin.
going to be joined, but I think we've got enough votes. We'll just, or should we wait for him? I don't know.
He's
Okay.
coming in. Let's see if he had bad audio. So he may have something to say.
Hey, Joe, can you hear us now?
Sounds like everyone's going on.
Hey, could you hear us?
He can hear Joe, but I'm not sure if he
Yeah.
can hear us.
I hear everyone, Bill. It's kind of, I might have to try another.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's breaking up.
yeah, you're breaking up. Okay, well,
Okay, the way I hear you.
well, what we had just, there was a motion made to have Aaron be our authorized agent for the inland, Madison Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Agency. There was a motion, there was a second. And then any comments before we vote? So I don't know, Joe, if you can hear, did you have any comments on that? Oh, he's, yes, okay. So he votes yes. And no comments. Great, good to have chats. So everybody else, all in favor? Aye. Okay, no opposed. That's great. All right, excellent. Yay, Aaron.
Congratulations.
I'm
Yeah.
thrilled.
Good luck with
I'm
that.
teasing.
A dubious honor, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Glad to help.
yeah. Okay. So as we go into our first two regular meeting items, for those of you who checked email this afternoon late, Aaron has sent two staff recommendations for these. So I don't know, Aaron, we can take each one and I can read them, or since you are here, you can
Sure.
go through them. Okay, so we'll start with our first one, which is
Sure.
application- oh, sorry, application dash 23.
Yes, so 15 Prospect. And I'm
Prospect.
happy to, I've just allowed our applicants here to come over, and I don't know if you'd like to, I have shared my staff comments with the applicant's agents, both Travis Gulick and Mike Harkin of Harkin Engineering. Excuse me. So I'm happy to let them do their presentation to you first, and then we can kind of raise staff comments however you'd like to proceed.
Okay,
Taylor.
all right. Well, that sounds great. So if the applicant wants to do their presentation, we will listen.
Travis is coming over now. Here he is.
Right. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Michael Harkin. I'm a professional engineer and principal of Harkin Engineering, located at 78 Wolf Hollow Lane in the town of Killingworth, Connecticut. Again, here tonight on behalf of Travis Gulick, Gulick and Company, for his clients, both Hillary and Curtis Baker, who live at 35 Tuxas Road that abuts this property. Here tonight because we like to redesign the existing structure that's there, put a small addition on, and also take the garage down and put in a swimming pool with terraces and landscaping. The site survey of record is Tom Stevens' office. Chuck Mandel and Tony from Tom Stevens' office performed the survey. The soil scientist of record is Bob Russo, who put up the wetlands flags. So with that being said, I'm just going to come over here and share my screen if I may. Give me 1 second. Taking a little time to upload. All right, let's zoom that out a little bit. Can everybody see the screen that's on there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so speaking with Erin today, and I'm looking at her list of comments. So I put this drawing up on the screen. This is the survey for the property. So this is the property in question that we're dealing with on 15 Prospect. And you can see the inland wetlands line. Our client also owns 35 Tuxas, which you can see here on the cursor. This is their existing house. And again, you can see the inland wetlands line. So over on Tuxas Road, there's a stream that comes across a culvert. There's a head wall, and then the stream follows down the property and keeps going down the back of the houses along Prospect. This is the house in question. Again, we'll be removing the garage and putting a swimming pool in this vicinity. We'll be reworking this house, and we'll be also putting a small addition on this backside and the steps coming down. The septic system will not be touched. We do have approval from the health department with a B100. So we're not increasing the bedroom count. We're actually decreasing the bedroom count in this instance. So we are basically not having to touch the septic system at all. Currently, there's a driveway off Tuxas Road that will go away. And then you'll see on the plans, when the homeowners want to use the pool, they'll come down and walk through this grass path. They won't have to cross this wetlands. It's a big grass area. And they'll come right into where my cursor is, and then they'll go up on the swimming pool. It's also important to note, and you'll see in our plan, the town has a drainage pipe that comes across the front face of the property. It's like 2 feet off the edge of the garage. That pipe does not have an easement on the property. It's currently filled up with sediment and sand, and we could not locate the outlet of that. So again, the survey of record is Tom Stevens and Associates, and Robert Russo had put in the wetlands flags that you see. I'm just going to zoom in on this area because one of Aaron's later comments was, again, because we're working just on 15 Prospect, we don't show 35. We have a wetlands flag number 3. Aaron, if you see my cursor, there's wetlands flags number 2, and there's wetlands flag number 1. So basically it hooks on this area and follows the path behind the house. The stream, the center of the stream is in this vicinity. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up our proposed plan now. Can everybody see that one?
Yep.
Okay, so here's our plan for the proposed project. Again, you can see here's the wetlands flag, flag number 3. You can see that pipe that comes across. Again, the garage is again 2 feet off, basically where my cursor is. So we're staying almost in the same footprint of everything that's pre-existing. Now, here's the existing house that we'll be remodeling. Because we're in a FEMA flood zone, we're required by the 50% rule to raise this up to meet the FEMA requirements, because we'll be doing more than 50% of the value of the house. So we will be raising that. Because we're raising that, obviously the pool will also have to be raised up in this vicinity. The pool is going basically in the confines of the existing garage area. This is the existing porch area here, which will be made into part of the house. And then we have this small bump out in this vicinity with the stairs going down. So as you walk out of the house at elevation 14, you'll take 1 step down, and then you'll take a step to the left or the right. Here is the pool decking. And then we have a retaining wall. We have stairs going down this side. We have stairs going down this side. The pool equipment will be located in this area. Again, that has to be raised up to meet the FEMA flood requirements, which it is. It's at elevation 13. And then we have a step down, which is a planted landscape terrace. It's about a 2.5 foot step. You can see elevation 13 and elevation 10.5. So it's 2.5 feet. And then again, we have another small retaining wall that's 2.5 feet that goes back down to the existing grade. This area is virtually flat. Where my cursor is elevation 8. Elevation 6 is way in the wetlands. So elevation 7 is in the vicinity of my cursor. And you can see that we're only putting in approximately a foot of fill in this area. Again, the septic system will remain because we are required to show a area for 100% reserve for the health department. We did show that in this area that's highlighted. Again, and we do have health department approval. Because this drainage pipe is going through the property, we'll be relocating it as shown. We'll be connecting to the existing catch basin, moving it over, coming across, and again, moving it over. And we're coming to the closest point on our property line to that wetlands, which is wetlands flag number 3. And again, we'll be discharging that with just an open pipe. Currently, this isn't even functioning. It's filled up with sediment and sand. It doesn't take a large drainage area on the street. It's not collecting a lot. But we hope to, get that discharging to where we have it coming out in the location shown. So obviously on the plan, we have a line of silt fence. You can see across the back property, a line of staked hay bales if needed. Again, if you guys were on the sidewalk, you're able to see that most of it is grass area. We're not looking to have to cut down any trees or vegetation out there in order to do this project. 90% of the project is basically in the same footprint of the existing structure. And then you have the terraces that are really landscape features that are bumping out. The proposed water line, obviously with the septic being where it is, we'll put a new water line coming in, and that will be in the back of the unit that you see here. So with that being said, that's pretty much the plan as you see it. We show a 50-foot line where my cursor is, wetland setback, obviously because the 100-foot upland would be completely off the property and across the street on the neighbor's property on both sides. So with that being said, that ends my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if we want to go into Erin's letter, her memo, we can do that as well. But if anybody has any questions beforehand, they'd be happy to answer them.
What's going to happen to the existing 12-inch pipe that's going to be relocated?
So what we're proposing is obviously we would connect when we would rip it out here. And then we would take it out all the way across. And right when we get to the property line, I have it called out to cut that pipe.
Okay.
So we're not going into the wetlands. And the reason I called out to cut the pipe is the invert at this catch basin of the pipe out is elevation 5.5. This elevation in this area is elevation like 6.1. So the area where this pipe is supposed to be is higher than where this invert is. So it's our fear we couldn't find this because it's so buried that it goes deeper into the wetlands. So if I have to rip it out in the wetlands, I'm destroying more wetlands than I have to. In this instance, we don't have to have any effect on the wetlands. I could cut the pipe short and then it has no effect on anything we're doing. And then we're rerouting the pipe and we could have the outlet of this pipe right at that flag, right at the property line. And again, because there's not a huge drainage area it's collecting, then, there's not a lot of flow. So we'll be able just to dead end that,
Okay,
Anna, does that answer your question?
that does. Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions, if I may,
Yeah.
Michael.
Yep.
So what is that? What's the invert of the new pipe going to be at the wetland line?
So we call it out to be field determined. We provided enough cover over the pipe that we can put it right at existing grade. So if that elevation is 6.1 there, we have enough cover over that pipe as we go to meet that invert. So worst case scenario, it's laying right at grade and we're going to fill over it. It's not a high traffic area and there's no traffic because we're taking out that driveway. But I can't see it on the screen. Martin, is that you speaking?
Yes.
Yep. So you could see the invert from the surveyor is 5.52 for the pipe coming out. And where it dead ends, nobody knows because it's already filled over and silted over.
So we're proposing still to have the invert at the outlet higher.
Well, what we'll do is exactly what we can do is I'm in a position now when we take this pipe out, I can raise this invert
Okay.
and make it work. So it's worked out to be at a 1%. I can get this to flow.
Okay.
Even at a 0.5% by staying at the existing grade at the high point without having to go into that inland wetlands.
Okay. Is that a catch basin that it comes from right now?
Yes, sir. That's two existing catch basins. This is one across the street. The water flows through this 12-inch pipe to this pipe. And then you can see the surveyor called it out as a 12-inch pipe coming across here.
Okay.
The unfortunate thing is both these pipes are filled with sediment. He was able to dig in there, I believe, to get that 12-inch nomenclature on the pipe.
Okay. Do you know if the town of Madison typically comes through and pumps these basins out annually?
They should, but they didn't in this instance. And it's our
Okay.
belief that the pipe is, fully sedimented up. So that's why we're just saying it's there, it's not functioning. And actually my client, Travis Gulick, who's on, he could speak a little bit to that because he has took the plan into the town engineer for discussions on that. I wasn't at that meeting, but if you want to hear from Travis, he can also
I
talk
see.
to you at that.
Is there any opportunity to put in a 4-foot sump in that?
No, sir, because you have this large wetlands area here, and it's our belief we're going to hit the water table, at that catch basin, so we won't be able to discharge anything. Martin, are you talking about a sump for like a dry
Sediment.
well?
Yeah, no, just sediment. Just to
Yeah, no,
catch sediment
that
for
would have to be on
maintenance.
the town, sir, because our property line is right here,
Right,
and this is all on town property.
sure. I just figured I'd throw that in there. I mean, you're running a pipe in there and maybe changing the elevation. That's a lot of activity in that basin.
Yeah, we would have to rip out that whole basin, and that's typically something that Public Works would have to do
Right.
because it is a municipal basin.
But earlier you said that you could raise that elevation there.
I could raise the pipe invert out
Yeah,
because there's already the hole there, so I could just lift this pipe up by coring the top
I
of the
see.
catch basin and put my
Okay.
pipe right in there and then mud it up and then
I see.
run with
Okay,
it.
thank you. Another question, is this project going to result in more impervious area or less than existing conditions?
In this instance, it equals out, sir, because we're taking away the asphalt driveway that's here.
Okay,
And then the only thing we're adding is really the top of the retaining walls. all these areas that my cursor is on are planted areas.
Okay, good. And it is in a floodplain, is that correct? That you have to do the FEMA compensation there?
Yes, sir, it is in a floodplain. If you, surveyor has called it out as an AE 12. And because it's an AE 12, the finished floor elevation is required to be at elevation 14.
Sure.
That's 1 foot of freeboard for the water to flow before it gets to the lowest floor joist member. And then a floor joist member is usually 12 inches. So the
Okay,
minimum is 14.
thank you. Last question, is this, given the FEMA floodplain, is this a situation where it's a requirement that you provide for compensatory flood storage for that floodway?
Yeah, not in this instance. So it's not a floodplain. It's just in a flood zone.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
I actually did have one more quick question. I'm looking at the construction callouts for number 3 and number 2 for the silt fence and stacked steel wheels. And Aaron, I don't know if we can, but because the construction's happening so close to basically an open well and stream, on the notes on the callouts, it says as/if required by the design engineer. As part of the wetland permit, can we ask that that is required to protect that stream wetland? The silt fence hay bales?
Yeah.
The
We
double
don't have a problem with
back?
that, guys. Yeah, if you want to make that a condition, Anna, we don't have a problem with doing that, putting that in. All my plans that come out of the office has as if required. For the simple example is that it's already a grassed area. There should be no real disturbance to any of the grass because we're within the same confines. But, you know, if that would make the commission, you know, amenable to the project, we would put that in. That's not a problem.
Yeah, just as an extra precaution for that stream and wetland area.
Other questions for the applicant? So if you guys had a chance, we can look at Aaron's comments. So it sounds like you have said, if we look at these comments, the first is provide a
I can
copy.
share those if Michael wants to
Yeah.
stop sharing that screen. I'll pull up comments.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's not
That
a
way
problem.
everybody can see
Yep.
what we're
Yep.
talking
All set,
about.
Aaron?
Okay, that's good. Thanks, Mike. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is just a staff report that I drafted today as I was reviewing for comments here. My first comment was to provide a copy of the survey that was referenced on the site development map from Michael. He has shared, I'm not sure if it's a specific survey that is referenced on his plan, but he has shared one this evening. But we still don't have a paper copy of that as part of the application. So that was one of my questions. The second was who the registered soil scientist who delineated the inland wetlands. The application documents indicate that it was Richard Snarsky, not Bob Russo. I think that was just a point
Yeah,
of
it could have been.
clarification to see who actually did that delineation. The second comments.
So Aaron, do you want me to respond to each one as we go so we don't have to go back? We don't have, for the first one, we don't have a problem submitting the survey. Again, we have to back up a little bit. Aaron has just taken over. As you know, we submitted these plans 8 weeks ago, almost 2 months, and we met multiple times with the previous person and gave him all the information that he had required. Aaron has just taken over and put her report together. So all this information that we received actually today is all pretty minor in nature and we could achieve. We just didn't know that it was required. So, or requested. So the survey, you did see it. It's done by Tom Stevens. We have a copy. We could definitely submit that. It might have been a typo left over from our plan about Richard Snarsky, but it's definitely confirmed by Tony at Tom Stevens' office that Bob Russo was the one that put that on there. And actually, I can submit a revised plan of ours that calls it if it does show up on ours as Richard Snarsky.
It was the actual application form.
Okay. Yeah,
not
we
the
can get that
thing.
revised and submitted
That's
just so it's a complete application. We don't have a problem with that.
Sure. And just, yes. So, okay. So as far as the retaining walls, initial comments from last week to the applicant, the height of the original proposal for the retaining walls for the pool exceeded 4 feet in height, which under the zoning regulations required them to comply with the zoning setbacks. So the plan that you're looking at this evening is an amended plan that reduces the height of the wall. And the my question is just for clarification on the record that the top and bottom elevation of the retaining wall was not indicated. There are proposed grade elevations and paver patio elevations, but question was just to clarify for future reference that, you know, these aren't a sitting wall, for example, where the retaining wall will actually exceed that 4 feet in height. And then further on the north side, particularly where the wetland boundary is closest to the retaining walls, there are spot elevations, both 10 and 7 within a couple feet of each other. And so question is how will that grading be achieved as we're not seeing any topographic detail on that slope on the other side of the wall. And since that is adjacent to the wetland line. So it's my suggestion to provide grading details of this portion of the property.
Yep. So we don't have a problem with that. The elevations of the areas where the wall and the patios are shown in the plan. So if a condition of approval, we could put TW for top of wall and, BW for bottom of wall on those spot shots, just for clarification, but all those elevations are on there. We didn't show grading lines by the 10 and the 7 contours, just for clarity. And I can put that drawing up there. It's basically where the silt fence is and the wetlands, and there's so much going on over there. We put the spot shots on, which are more clear. It's basically a 2-to-1 slope. In that area, we're going from, I believe it's 3 feet of fill in there down to 0. So it's 3 feet of fill over, 10 feet. So it's a 2-to-1 slope in that area. I mean, we could show it. I just think it's going to get lost. But that's up to the commission. I can put my drawing back up there and you guys can look at that back area, but it is kind of crowded, but that's why we put the spot shots on there. Again, because the grade is pretty flat over there. Obviously we can't grade into the wetlands and the wetlands is over there and there's, we don't have to, but that's up to the commission if they would like to see a line there instead of a spot shot.
So I'll just kind of run through these and then give you an opportunity, I guess, to comment on the rest of them. So then if it's helpful when you're commenting to have the plan up, that's fine as well. Okay, so number 3, plan indicates in note 11 that the storm drainage pipe is a municipal pipe. While no drainage or maintenance easements are shown on the plan, it's assumed this pipe has historically drained stormwater from Prospect Street into the wetland system to the north of the property, and prescriptive drainage rights exist. The removal of the pipe and installation of a new relocated storm drainage pipe is subject to review by the town's engineering department. It's likely that a storm drainage and maintenance easement will need to be granted to the town by the property owner prior to any removal of the existing pipe or installation of a new pipe. It's recommended that the applicant enter into discussion with the engineering department to determine the appropriate width and requirements of said easement. The drainage pipe will need to be designed to town standards. Note 11 also indicates that the existing pipe will be cut at the property line prior to the delineated wetland boundary. The remaining 3 feet is proposed to be left within the wetland boundary on the adjacent parcel. The applicant should clarify the material of the existing pipe. Is it metal, reinforced concrete? The agency should discuss whether or not full removal and wetland restoration is preferred. As the property owner owns both parcels, this is an option that can be explored further. Number 5, further detail is required regarding the relocated storm drainage pipe. Limits of inland wetland boundary should be clarified, as it appears that wetland flags 1 and 2 are missing from the plan. No detail is shown regarding the outlet structure of the storm drainage pipe, including invert elevation or erosion protection measures. As the pipe outlet is shown to be located at the very least on the wetland boundary line, if not within, depending on location of flags 1 and 2, the agency may wish to have the applicant provide recommendations and/or comments from a wetland specialist. It's staff's recommendation that the applicant work with their design engineer and wetland specialist to address the above concerns and any additional comments from the agency. It's within the statutory timeframe to hold off on any action until the next regularly scheduled meeting in August. So just letting the agency know that, as there are, in my opinion, and perhaps in the opinion of the agency, that there are enough outstanding details with respect to the storm drainage pipe that are relevant to potential impacts, both in the upland and within the wetland system itself, where you may wish to add further comments and request additional information in time for your next meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have, or the agency, excuse me, may have regarding my comments.
If I can jump in real quick, maybe I can bridge this a little bit, but I was certainly thinking that it was important to take a very good look at the outfall and the detail and around that pipe as it is on the wetland edge, as you say, Aaron, and fully agree that the soil scientists of record should take a look at those resources and plan and make recommendations for, mitigating any impact associated with that. And so right out of the gate, and as you said, that, that's going to require another meeting. And I just thought that, with that mindset, if I could go so far as to say, those are important points, and if everyone agrees, it would look like another meeting. So for Michael and everybody's benefit, it might be easier to address everything at once versus trying to get it all done tonight. Thank you.
I guess I hadn't thought about the easement issue, so it sounds like that is something that, yes, Mr. Harkin.
Can we let Mr. Gulick speak, because he's the one that went to the town and had discussions with the town engineer regarding that pipe? So I think it's important for the record that you hear from him, because he's the one that actually spoke with the town engineer regarding the pipe.
Hi, Travis Gulick, Gulick and Company. So I had Mike and I met at this property months ago, talked about the property, talked about the drain, and we brought it to Nuco, talked to John DeLaura multiple times, sent him this over to him, about Mike said about 8 weeks ago. We redrew the pipe like they wanted. They talked about the easement. The whole aspect is that that's a process, obviously, to get the easement. The town didn't really want anything to do with it, just kind of told me to go deal with it, to go get an easement. And didn't really look at the plan, to be honest with you, about the detail of the pipe, anything really like that. And it's been sitting with the town for quite a while, and we didn't really hear anything. So we have no problem getting an easement. We know the pipe's going right through the middle of the property, right in through there's not much building spots on this property because of the way it is. It's really skinny. And that the homeowner did say, well, let's just move it and get it out of the building setbacks, and then we will grant an easement. The whole aspect going through the easement, going through the town, we weren't going to do that until we really get formal approval from the wetlands. that's a lot of work, a lot of paperwork, a lot of money to go into that if we were just going to be denied. So there was that not going to get an easement for this meeting and this approval as well. But to go back with, John Iannucco, wasn't really much conversation. It's been sitting with the town for quite a while and never heard from him. So that's where I'm landing on that.
Thank you, Travis. I appreciate you sharing your conversations with John and John. John Iannucco is the town engineer. He is on vacation this week. In his place is Robert Russo, is the assistant town engineer, who I did speak with this morning. I agree that the actual formality of easement documents isn't necessarily enough, in my opinion, to hold up an inland wetland review of a regulated activity. However, I think that the town would be involved in making sure that the design of the drain pipe functions and is actually draining the storm drainage from Prospect. And if there are questions regarding inverts and the outlet of this pipe, and this is no longer a straight pipe, this is now an angled pipe where there are potential areas for cleanouts that the town may very well want. I think further review from the engineering department as far as the details of the actual install, the outlet, are all relevant, because if those are recommended to be changed, that may very well affect the regulated activity permit. So the design end of the pipe, I think, should be ironed out prior to action by the agency. Actual legal documents granting an easement or a drainage easement or a maintenance easement, I don't think those should hold up your actions, and that wasn't the intent of my my memo of that part. So it's more for the design and to make sure that to have the adequate detail of this new pipe and how it's outletting into the wetland.
Kind of tag on to what Erin was just saying. That pipe, and I apologize if this is backtracking, the current existing pipe, you said, is full of sediment, so it's really not conveying any water. And obviously the new pipe would be. Is there a concern at all for increased scouring in that stream and making those banks unstable? With that
From an engineering standpoint, the area is so very small that the catch basins are collecting from that we're not worried about scour, especially the pipe is flat that we're going to be proposing, a 1.5%. So there's really no velocity coming out of it. It's, right above it is the town outlet of a full stream. And again, that stream runs all the time and there's really no scour from the physical velocity of that stream. So the amount of water that we're going to be putting in there is very minimal. But I mean, our look at the project is, okay, let's cut the pipe there and let's not go into the wetlands and damage any of the existing wetlands that have been flagged. But if the commission would like us to put a riprap splash pad in there, we can do that. Just know that it would have to go within the existing wetlands. And then we would be physically disturbing the wetlands, whereas now we're just in the upland. But if that's what, the commission would like us to do is to put a riprap scour pad in there, we could definitely do that, but I don't think it's warranted at this point just because of the small drainage area it's collecting.
Do you have information on the size of that drainage area?
I can get it for you.
Referencing that it's a small area. I don't.
Yeah, I can put it in writing on paper. It's pretty. If you guys saw it on the sidewalk, the streets are very, very flat there. There's very few drainage areas and there's a lot of high points. Most of the drainage on that road, both Tuxas and Prospect, is designed to sheet flow off the road and into the grass areas. So that there's no curbing over there. So it wants to sheet off the sides. The road is crowned.
Right. And I guess that was, those are some of my questions as well. As you have referenced how small the area is, it would be useful to know that. I don't think anyone's asking for a riprap splash pad right now. It sounds like, I think, as Martin has said and Anna has said, it's just more information on, I mean, this is a, you know, pretty significant in a way move with this drainage pipe, and having, if it needs to be up to, which it sounds like, to town engineering standards, since it's a town pipe, that would be important information to have documented on the site plans. Are there other comments from anybody else on the agency, John or Lee
No. Nope.
or Joe? Or maybe Joe can type them in if he can't speak.
Joe's here twice. I'm trying to promote both of him. I'm not sure which one it is at this point. I apologize.
I'm on my third device, if you can hear me.
You're finally in, Joe.
I can hear
Okay,
you.
I'm on my phone looking at my MacBook Air. So if Aaron, I thought your comments were excellent. I don't think we should be approving anything without engineering in hand.
Let me see. Okay, so it sounds like, I guess my sense is that there are some issues that need to be ironed out more, particularly with the drainage pipe. And I guess we have that in writing from Aaron. And hopefully the assistant town engineer can be helpful, since the other one is on vacation this week. Unfortunately, we don't have any jurisdiction over the engineering department. So sorry, you'll have to work with them on this. Anna's suggestion about the hay bales and the extra, and making sure it's not, that it is required to have the ENS controls, I think is good. Walking that site is really tight at the back. So even though there's going to be a lot of, you're not really going at too much, there is some outside the footprint work. It's still a tight space where I think it'd be helpful to have those ENS measures in place. Any other comments?
I did just want to bring up, I know in Erin's comments, I think it's number 4, talking about discussing whether or not full removal and wetland restoration is preferred. My thought on that is, we don't want to further impact that wetland area by asking for restoration of that full removal. I think it would create more disturbance than kind of just capping off an old pipe. So I don't know if we should clearly state for the pipe removal, no restoration would be recommended. I didn't know what anybody else thought about that comment.
Well, having walked the site, it's not, it is so tight in between the two. I guess I would be in favor, since apparently the pipe is clogged up, that yes, capping it and rerouting is probably a better option than taking everything out and disturbing it.
Agreed.
Pretty overgrown, which is fine. But there definitely are, there's water, there's animals, there's plants, wetland plants, there's skunk cabbage, and we saw green frog. So there's different things going on. I don't know, Aaron, if you had, so I guess my inclination would be the same as Anna's, to not necessarily take it all out, but that's from a wetland perspective. I have no idea what engineering, it does seem that capping it off and rerouting is the better option and with the least impact.
Mike, is that end of the pipe something that was not identified by the surveyor, or was the outlet actually identified? I mean, it could potentially outlet somewhere at a lower elevation.
That's correct. It can,
You don't know how far it extends into the adjacent property to the north?
that is correct. He could only follow it up until that point. It can go 20 feet further for all we know, but it's so sedimented up. It could go all the way out into the stream for all we know. The problem is that it's clogged. And then because it's so overgrown in there, you can't physically find it until you get an excavator in there and start ripping it out. The problem is then we're Pandora's box, then we're going further and deeper into the wetlands. That's why it's, in our opinion, it's basically best to cut it where it is, and not open up Pandora's box. I mean, at that point, we can be, 20 feet into the wetlands, into that stream, trying to chase this pipe.
I guess on the flip side is that you could potentially have the town requesting that your outlet of the new pipe is at a lower elevation than your inlet from the catch basin. And you may be extending further, or if you're unable to raise the actual pipe at the catch basin.
Yeah, what we
end up with an elevation problem to get that.
100%. What we would do is, if the engineering department had said something like that, we would defer the design of this pipe and drainage system back onto the town, because it is a municipal pipe and a municipal system will have an easement. Then it would go to the town engineering department to design it to their requirements. We don't have a problem designing it and moving it and relocating it, but once they get into, and this may happen after all, they may take it over and design it in-house, because again, it is municipal. There's going to be a lot of discussions in the next couple of weeks. For example, if the commission required more information and wanted that outlet found, well, it's the town's pipe. The town would have to flush it out, drain it out, find the end, and then we can go out there and survey and relocate it, or locate it on a survey. The problem is, it's a municipal pipe that hasn't been taken care of for years. We kind of don't know what to do with it. The town doesn't know what to do with it. From what I've gotten for Travis, the best way to do is what we did is to take care of it, relocate it, put it at an elevation that we wouldn't be disturbing any wetlands. We'd be happy to entertain any other ideas that the town engineering department will have. And, I'll touch base with John when he gets back, or Rob, on, what they're thinking. But again, remember, this isn't just an easement that gets quickly done. It has to go to town council because it is municipal. The question lies is who's going to draw this up? If it's a municipal easement, is the town taking this on? Is my client's attorney going to take this on? So there's a lot that has to be ironed out with the pipe. So I guess as we peel that onion back, we'll have more to report next month on the steps and what's transpired. But right now, there's too many options and questions on this pipe, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the end is that what Mike's really trying to convey. We want to do the right thing. We don't want to just get rid of the pipe, not ignore it. The town didn't even know about the pipe. It wasn't on any records. We brought it to them. We want to make it right. We want to move the pipe, do what's needed done. It's just, I'll be honest, but with the town and some things, I don't want this to take a year. The project's going to take quite a long time. So the question with the whole easement in that aspect, we're happy to do it. The client has been on board since the beginning of doing that. It's just the timing of it is the approval process to get to that point. Be happy to get the easement done and finalized, but is that for a CO towards the final approval, or is that really going to be required from inland wetlands or even zoning, which is another situation of before we even can start the project? I think that's going to be the question, but that's something that Mike and I will be working on this month with.
Yeah, I think, Travis, that's going to actually come from the town attorney, with discussions on legally when that comes into place. But obviously, like Travis said, we didn't want to go out and put an easement in there if you guys deny it. We've already, it's putting the cart before the horse. So, like we said, we don't have any problem doing it. It's just we have a lot to figure out with this pipe, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and I think what Aaron tried to make clear is that having the easement legalities in place isn't necessarily a requirement for our agency, but for our agency, understanding where the pipe is, where it's going and how it's designed is necessary. So that's, the easement is definitely important at some point, but it doesn't necessarily need to be done for next month. But understanding better about that pipe, I think you've probably heard from a number of people now tonight, is definitely what we're interested in. And it's unfortunate that the engineering department wasn't more timely in their or comments with you. I'm sorry about that, but we can't approve an application with a pipe like that where, we don't know the design and, there's all these outstanding questions.
Totally understandable. Yeah, no, that makes sense. We'll get you that information. No problem.
And hopefully, Rob or John will be able to help you in the intervening couple weeks, 3 weeks-ish. Aaron, any
Yes,
last?
and staff can help facilitate that conversation so that it's not lost. Playing phone tag. I think, it's not unusual to find properties like this where the town has drainage pipes to wetlands with no documented easements over it. We have a lot of old properties, and we come up across, with this situation from time to time. And when those opportunities arise, it is the town should, and most of the time does, take that opportunity to formalize an easement with existing drainage structures. This in particular is a brand new structure. So there's no doubt in my mind that would trigger an easement review. And we have standard easement documents that we've drafted that have been approved by our legal department. That itself should not be a cost, a time prohibiting issue. It's more to make sure that the actual, as I said, without repeating again, that the actual design is not something that's indicated on the plans as field determined, where then that could inadvertently result in a potential violation in the wetland regulations. So this level of review is both to protect the property owner and the town at the same time.
All right, so it sounds like we will hopefully see you next month with hopefully answers. Yes, Martin.
Just wanted to add, just to make it, clear, I think it will be important for the applicant to go back to Bob Russo, the soil scientist, and get his input in terms of the character of the wetland and any suggestions he may have for, placing that new pipe in adjacent to the wetland. I mean, obviously, we're going to get in there with machinery and we're going to be removing vegetation, and erosion control is going to be important in there. And he may have some minor restoration, erosion control suggestions that might make things go smoothly there and allow the wetland buffer area to quickly heal and be relatively consistent with current conditions.
Yeah, we don't have a problem with doing that. Yeah, we'll probably get a letter or something documented that Bob is taking a look at that outlet and, see what he recommends for species. Obviously, we have silt fence and staked hay bales there. Erosion, I don't know what else more we can put in there. It's pretty flat, so we can't put blankets down, but, we'll definitely listen and take into consideration what Bob says, and we'll get it documented that we did speak with him. Anything else?
No, I think you have our comments, and I'm sure Aaron will be happy to have a discussion as you work on this application. And
Yep.
Thank you for being so accommodating and patient. I know it's frustrating when things take a long time.
Yeah,
So.
not a problem. Honestly, it's nobody's fault. I mean, Aaron just started this job tonight, really, and wetlands, Aaron. The review, unfortunately, we submitted so long ago. We thought everything was fine. and it is what it is. But we'll get you the information. We'll make it a complete plan. We thank you for your input, and yeah, we'll see you next month.
Great,
Thank you.
perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
Hey, one last thing before we sign off. Has everybody walked over the Bauer Park pathway that we put in?
Oh, I have.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Everything works fine? I got some great pictures for you sitting on like excavator mats in the wetlands, 2 large excavators with
Oh,
the
yeah?
erosion controls. So I'll send them to you guys.
That would be great. No.
All right,
it's
guys.
beautiful.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks. Congratulations, Aaron. Welcome aboard.
Oh, okay. So our next our next application is 22-24, 154 Race Hill Road. This is another one where we did a site walk the same day. Aaron also had some comments, and I guess we can, and oh yeah, we have Dr. Weiss here. So, oh yeah, there he is. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing great. So hopefully everyone saw that you submitted the documentation that we asked about. Was there any, did you want to talk about the project, any of it, or just let us kind of chat?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, I can give you a quick overview if you want, or if everyone has looked at it.
Maybe a short overview would be helpful.
Okay. So the house currently, the house was built in 1995, and the east side of the house, approximately 30 feet of the house sits in the last 30 feet of the 100-foot review area. There's a creek in the woods adjacent. So what we're looking to do is in the front of the house, we'd like to build a porch that is 12 feet deep and 48 feet long, which matches the length of the main portion of the house until the breezeway. And that would sit on concrete piers throughout the middle, and then there would be a perimeter foundation wall of poured concrete. And then in the back of the house, we'd like to bump out the kitchen about 6 feet. And so that's 6 feet out and 22.5 feet wide. And again, about 2/3 of that sits in the last section of the 100-foot review. That would sit on top of a crawl space basement that would be about 3.5 feet deep, poured concrete. And then directly behind that, just catching the last 5 to 10 feet of the 100-foot view, there'll be a deck that will be placed on concrete piers as well. And at the walkthrough, you guys had questions about silt fencing, so we consulted an engineer who provided some silt fencing along the side of the house. It stops, as you note, if you look at the back of the house, it stops by that propane tank because the back of the house is essentially uphill. And so all the vegetation you see in the back of the house is significantly uphill from the house, so it won't drain in that direction. And then the front of the house is gently sloped down, which is why we've got the silt fence extending out in 2 sections in the front of the house. And then over on the left side of the house, there's a garage, which is not in the wetlands review area, that we plan to expand the garage.
That's great. And thank you for providing the extra information that we had discussed at the site walk. That's very helpful for us and having it documented. So agency members, any questions for Dr. Weiss?
I was just happy to see the silt fence at the bottom of the hill. So I'm good with the plan.
Anna, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was curious, on the right side of the property, the silt fence has a break in it. I just wasn't sure why.
I think it has to do with the slope of the hill, the way that the first part kind of comes out. It angles, if you're looking at the picture from right to left. We can connect that if need be. That makes it. It's a very short section.
Yeah, it's such a small area. I figure just connect it together.
Okay.
I have a question.
Mark?
I was just wondering who did the wetland delineation?
That was done on the original survey before the house was built.
Oh, and when was that?
I don't know exactly. 95. The house was built in 95.
Okay, it's quite a ways ago. You typically on plans that come before the commission, we'll see a soil scientist signature or at least a letter from a soil scientist attesting to the wetland line, and then the surveyor having a located flag so we can basically get confirmation as to what the delineation is. So I'm just putting that out there for consideration.
Aaron? Is that something that we need? Because, so having walked the site, is the wetlands are far, or, you know, they seem to be, I don't know, Anna, you were in and Lee, but they seem to be, you know, pretty approximately near to what it looks like on the map.
I agree with that. I agree with that, Caitlin.
I do understand, I mean, that it is helpful to have them delineated in the current century. I don't, well, and, you know, we can talk about that. Aaron, do you have any?
Well, I think it depends on the commission. I think Martin brings up a good point. You know, I think the commission can take into consideration the distance and the note, you know, the reference map, as I'm looking at this, it is the reference map for the wetland delineation was digitized from the as-built survey of when the house was constructed in 1995. It's really up to the commission's discretion. You know, I don't think historically, and just relatively speaking, I think from periods of time, perhaps even prior to your appointment to the commission, Martin, I don't know that was consistently the procedure for the agency. That doesn't mean that it's correct. That's just how historically the agency has looked at applications. You know, as far as referencing a subdivision map, if it's a relative distance away and you don't see that things may have necessarily changed all that much. You know, I guess you could have an argument either way. Clearly, we can.
Yeah, no.
Through our discussion. But it really is, it's up to the commission. And I think maybe moving forward, you know, maybe we should have some discussions of this. And that is one of my items under comments later on down the road, is to discuss application materials and things like that at a future meeting of what you'd like submitted with applications. So
If I can just make a comment.
Yeah, I would look at it specifically for this particular application at this point, and then we can get into larger policy decisions from the commission. Generally,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dr. Rice.
Oh, so just in regard to this project, I mean, I know we don't have a recent one, but if you weren't on the site visit, that right side of the house, we're building on the main floor level, but the right side of the house is actually a walkout basement. So it's, you know, we're building 15 feet above the ground, you know, on the right side, or 10 feet above the ground on the right side of that house. So it's significantly elevated already. So, you know, I know that the house is not currently in wetlands. And it was, you know, I know it may have come closer in years since, but it's still not sitting in the wetlands.
Yeah, I was just about to jump in, just from my perspective of being on site. I didn't take any soil samples, but just based on veg and topo of the area where the house is situated, definitely not within a wetland. And I think the wetlands are at least, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think they're significant ways away from the house itself. So I think for this project, you know, maybe not having that requirement, but going forward, like Erin was saying later in the meeting when we talk about material requirements, application requirements. But I think for this application, it's okay to move forward without that per se. I think we're in a good spot.
Right. And I, you know, I think we both kind of walked up to to where the wetlands were and looked, and they are, Martin, they're far away from the house. It doesn't look like there's going to be any significant impacts, particularly with the added ENS controls. I do know we do ask for updated wetlands when there is more significant activity happening in a particular project. So I think it has been kind of application dependent in the past when we try to, you know, if there hasn't been a soil scientist involved and there's an application where there's a lot of activity happening near, you know, closer to a wetland, we have asked people to go back and get the wetlands delineated. I agree. I think going forward, it would be great to have a more standard policy that isn't one where it's so context dependent, where we need to, you know, do site walks to determine that, or, you know, look at maps. But I don't know, for other people on the site walk, they can, you know, chime in. For this one, I think that activity is well away from the wetland.
Now, I was on the sidewalk and I agree with both what Kealola and Anna said.
I remember we were looking for the wetland that was to the west where the pond was, and we literally thought it was grass. And it was very far away. And then the wetland to the east definitely was comfortably far enough where I think the silt fence will add the correct protections without needing a detailed soil scientist to update the map.
Right. But I do think moving forward, as we talk about this and maybe letting applicants know at the get-go, the expectations for applications, which we can discuss later, will be important. Other comments on the application? Okay, so Erin did have notes. Oh, and she has a draft resolution for us as well. Does anybody want to make a motion? Perhaps using some of that language if you have it.
Yeah, I move that we approve application 22-24, 154 Race Hill Road. And should I read what Erin's?
It's two main comments.
Yeah, with the conditions that the Inland Wetland Agency agents shall be notified within 48 hours prior to the commencement of any regulated activity. And the second condition is at all times during the site work and until the soil areas are stabilized, the applicant shall install and maintain erosion sediment control measures as indicated on the plans.
Yeah, that's great. Second, does anybody want a second? I'll second. I get the second. Any other discussion? No? Okay, all in favor of the motion as stated?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay, great. Well, thank you, Dr. Weiss, for your
Thank you.
information and happy construction. Good luck with that.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night.
You too.
Too.
Okay, so we have,
We have a long, it looks like a long agenda, but basically if I can just share what happened with our transfer of staffing. Some applications had come in that John had started reviewing for potential agent approvals. So that's why they're not on under receipt, because technically they came in prior to your last meeting. However, I was not, up until this evening, was not authorized to issue. So we had a little bit of a lag for 11 days of issuing no agent approvals. So it would be my recommendation that these, I wanted you to know everything that is before the agency as of today. However, 38 Old Route 79, which is a shed on crushed stone within the upland review area, 180 Concord Drive, those would be my recommendation that those could be authorized as agent approvals. Of course, that's up to you as the agency to make that determination. But I just tried to at least provide some notes here for you, so you weren't wondering where the heck this application came from, because it wasn't on for receipts at the last meeting.
right, yeah. And that was actually something that I had asked Erin when I looked at the agenda. I was like, wait a second. And I went through like 6 agendas and she explained what had happened. So if you had a chance to look at those, I've looked at those, and so these would be our section 13s. So if the members are okay with Erin as our approved agent, duly authorized to take over these as section 13s, unless you had questions or concerns about them. Did anybody have any questions or concerns about them?
I didn't.
Well, I saw the shed and it was 10 feet away. I have no problems with sheds going right to administrative. I just don't remember how close the trees were that were getting removed on Concord.
Okay, so yes, so the shed actually is fairly close to the flagged wetland. However, the applicant did have Richard Snarsky out, and when he flagged the inland wetland line, he did recommend a proposed planting buffer as part of that application. So it would have been my suggestion to make the installation of that buffer a condition of approval. And there was relatively no grading involved with that dropping of the shed. It really was to just kind of put out a crushed stone base. So relatively low disturbance on that particular application. The Concord Drive, there is a wetland system on the edge of the driveway. These trees are diseased, dying trees with that will cut from the upland, and the stumps left intact. So to maintain that stability. And part of me questioned if, sometimes the removal of dead trees isn't as of right activity in the upland. So as far as ordinary maintenance. So this individual, these homeowners did come forward seeking a permit. And I think John had told them that as they were diseased, they're in the upland, but they're relatively close to the wetland. However, they are dying. So that if the commission would prefer to see that, you're welcome to make it a full application.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm just wondering how many beech trees and how big they are?
There are 4. I don't have the diameter of them. Let me look and see if it's in the documents real quick. I think they're pretty substantial.
But I guess following up on Martin's question. We had the application where someone wanted to take out, I don't know, 10 or 12 or 20 trees, and we had the arborist come and look, but this is 4. Do they definitely know? I mean, they're definitely dying, I guess, is one thing we'd want to know regardless.
He said they're diseased, so they're dying. I don't have the diameter. Oh, maybe, let me see. Hold on. There are 4 of them. And I'm just looking to see if the estimate, I mean, it's a $2,500 removal fee for the 4 of them. No blowing wood chips. They're all removing chips and debris right into the truck. Left side of the driveway. He does not have the diameter of them.
Yes, I'm
So I
curious.
can't answer that, Martin. Sorry.
Okay.
Not at this time. I'd have to go out and look at them. And which I would prior to issuing any
Sure.
sort of permit. I have not as of today.
I guess I'm just curious, where they are relative to the wetland line, and maybe what side of the wetland. Are they on the south side? Do they provide a lot of shade? These trees can be, as you said, very large, and they like to grow on those border areas, and can provide a substantial amount of shade. So I just was wondering if they did provide that.
Yeah, I can show you roughly what has been provided to us here. Here's the house. So this is sort of on the northwest side, I guess. Therefore, this is what initially has been provided. The wetland system is down here.
Okay.
But again, I have to drive out to actually give you any sort of educated comments here.
Sure. Okay. Is that how we should leave it then? You're gonna, take a look and report back, or?
So where's our time limit, since these have been received?
Yeah, I mean, it would be August. So that's up to, I guess that's up to the agency, how you'd like to proceed. I mean, clearly, my general practice, I guess I can tell you historically from issuing approvals on behalf of the commission. I would go out and do, look at the plans, go out, do site inspection, and make recommendations for conditions. So I haven't done any of that, so I can't, I think it's relatively low. They're going to be cut from the driveway side and chipped directly into a truck. As far as if there should be anything else planted, I don't have that recommendation at this point. I don't know what other vegetation there is. I'm happy to go do an inspection this week and kind of email you some photos so you can see it. Or we can put it on for the agenda next month. It's really up to you how you'd like to proceed.
Well, do you have, so Joe, Martin, you guys have asked some questions. Where do you feel? Go ahead.
I'll just add that I'm okay with, administrative approvals for dying trees that won't be stumped, but I do have to say, at least give us a little proof that the trees are ailing, because they seem to be in a line kind of conveniently. But if we at least had photographs of the trees, it'll give us more of an impetus to agree that they are in need of potentially coming down.
Yeah, so I will agree with that, because we did ask just recently another applicant to provide, I don't know, proof or have an arborist determine that these trees, the trees they wanted to take out needed to be taken down.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be helpful. And if you do go out this week, then that could be, and you see it, and it's clearly like they're dying and dangerous, that that would be great. So I guess I agree in
They're
that sense.
leafed out and yeah, how
Yeah,
they,
this is a great time of year. I mean, I can see dying trees all over the place if they're not, if they're not leafing out. We've got one on our
exactly.
neighbor side of the driveway that the tree people want to take out. So it's actually a perfect time of year to go, yes, that one's not doing well. So I guess I would like to see photos as well on this one. But if they are dying and it's 4 trees on the driveway and they're not going to take the stumps out, then that's, for me, that would be a great section 13.
I agree.
Any other comments from the agency members?
No,
I can do that.
I think the area itself is quite forested. I don't know if it's, I agree with the shading aspect Martin brought up, especially if it's already like a shallow emergent wetland. It looks like it's next to a pond, but maybe putting in a replacement tree or two to help with that shading might be something we want to ask for as well as part of that agent approval.
Okay.
Okay, and I think everyone, it seems like, was in agreement that the application 22-25, the shed on Old Route 79 is definitely section 13.
yes, yeah.
Yes, yay.
We're
Okay.
getting there.
All right, so that takes us to so that takes us to application 22-26, 353 Boston Post Road, which my understanding is postponed, or
Yes, so our office did receive a written extension from the applicant today for the opening of the public hearing. It was originally scheduled for August 1st. And the applicant has granted an extension to open the hearing on our next meeting in September, which is September 12th. And I would just request that the agency make an action to confirm that you are willing to do that.
okay, I have a quick question and about, so we had asked the applicant to have a wetland specialist and an engineering specialist review their plans.
So
And go ahead.
yes, so the agency at your last meeting made the decision to hire a third-party review, both a professional engineer and wetland scientist. And the town did go out with an RFP requesting bids on that. We did receive one for a professional engineering consultant and one for environmental scientist. The engineering firm that responded is Codaspoti and Associates, and the engineer of record is Bob Weway, who would be doing the engineering review. And from the environmental side, Davison Environmental responded to do the review, and that would be Eric and his brother Matt Davison, who would be reviewing the plans. At this point, the applicant, as they were our third-party consultants, have provided estimates, and we're going to begin the review process, including site inspections and analysis of all materials submitted with the application. The applicant did request that we hold off on that as they are trying to renegotiate a contract with the property owner for the purchase of the property and potentially explore some alternative designs. So at this point, I think it does make sense to extend the public hearing as you may be receiving potentially a withdrawal of the application if a contract is not negotiated, or potential revisions to the approved plans. And I think the applicant is trying to prevent unnecessary reviewing consultant fees when they're unclear how they're going to proceed at this time.
Okay, so this means that instead of having a site walk scheduled for this month and having our third party professionals do the review, we would be pushing that into August.
Correct.
presumably. So I just want to make sure that all of that happens before the September 12th.
Yes, I
meeting.
agree. I agree. We would have to schedule a walk meeting, a site walk in August, and continue with the reviews from the
Okay.
consultant in preparation for the public hearing to open.
Right, because I think that'll just be easier for everyone if we've all walked the site and we have our reviews in. If they, are going to go forward. Okay, so it sounds like we need to have a motion to extend the public hearing
Yes,
to September 12th.
yes.
Will September 12th have to be decision date, or is there more time?
The September 12th
I mean,
date
September.
is a 30-day extension that's granted to open the hearing. And so the applicant would, I think it's 30 days. I'd have to count, to be honest. It may be 35, but it's not the full 65. So there's still additional time should they wish to postpone the hearing again. Or if they need that portion of time to either hold the hearing open or for potential action. That can be divvied up between the three different time periods there.
Okay, so I'll make a motion, Kia, that we continue the application 22-26 to the August meeting.
Nope.
As requested by the applicant via an extension to
September,
August 12th. September 12th.
Okay. Would anybody like to second that?
I'll second it.
All right. All right. All in favor of granting the applicant an extension to September 12th? All right. Any opposed? No, that's excellent. Okay. Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll see them on September 12th. Okay, so we have some, so now we're into our receipt. So as a reminder, for these are received. We actually had a few get added on Thursday or Friday. And this is our time to hopefully have looked at the applications, and Aaron can give us input if we need a site walk or not. And of course, we can all input whether we think we need a site walk or not, or a public hearing. Those are, so we do nothing, we just wait till next month. We do a site walk, we think about a public hearing. So that's what we'll do with these. So our first one is 22-29, 554 Opening Hill Road.
You've seen this property before.
Right.
Okay, just wanted to.
I was going to say, we've seen this one before. It's a modification. It may be worthwhile. I guess Aaron can chime in to do a site walk on this. We didn't do an initial site. Well, did we? I don't think we did an initial.
No, not for the subdivision nor for the regulated activity to build the new house. At this point, the applicant is proposing to relocate the house and move that.
Yeah.
So there has been some clearing done in the area. That's up to that's up to the commission if you'd like to get eyes on it at this point to kind of have an understanding of what's going on out there.
I think we
kinda
came
helpful.
close to requesting a site walk, and Mr. Doan kind of convinced us with his expertise. We were okay, but if the opportunity's at hand, I would jump on the opportunity to go to this site.
Yeah, I guess I'm on board with that too. There's been this is another change, this is a change. It would be good to see I feel like it would be good to see what's going on out there before we do any more approvals. Other comments from the rest of the?
I'm up for that also.
Okay. Martin, you're nodding. That's a yes. Yes. Okay. John, do you care? Would you like to go out and have a walk?
No problem.
Okay. And Anna, hopefully. All right. Okay. Yay. It's always an opportunity to see you guys in person too, which is
Yeah.
nice. Okay, so we'll schedule, so Aaron, you can help us schedule that for a site walk before the next meeting.
Yes.
Our next application is 22-28 48 Bower Road. This is a sunroom at the rear of the house. And let's see. I'm just looking to see if I.
Let me see if I can pull this up for you.
Yeah, pull it up.
Yeah,
This is
but-
one that staff, I think, would recommend as a potential agent approval.
I was leaning that way myself.
Okay, yeah, so I have it, there maybe get some ENS measures and control in a wetland review line in, but yeah, it could be, it also could be a section 13. Other comments, or did you just pull?
The only thing is I don't see any site map with, I just see architecturals.
Right, and that was my comment as well, is that it seems pretty basic, but there isn't a site plan with the wetland review line or any topography. It is just architectural.
So to stay consistent, even though we got the silt fence up against the house, if Aaron feels comfortable that the wetlands are like 50 feet away, I think this should be a section 13.
And I believe they are, I can show you, there's a, what's included in the application is aerial imagery here. Which is showing a porch here on sonotube footings with relatively little site disturbance in the existing area. Our wetlands are,
A bit to the north.
get this low. What's that?
Okay. That looks like a section 13 to me.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be good. I think they do. I think we need to have the wetland, some kind of wetland.
The wetland layer is not put on this.
Right.
So an updated map, the map needs to be updated
Yes,
to clearly identify the limits of wetlands
yes.
prior to
Yeah, I totally agree.
any control. However, I have relatively little concern for hand dug footings for a porch. I don't think we're going to be getting any machinery in here.
Right, and that's something that you can check with them about. If you're,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I thought he said they were going to be hand dug.
Yeah, I thought so too. I don't.
I could have sworn I read that.
So, so other comments is everyone okay with this being a agent approval? Yes, Martin, are you?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Martin, did you have a question or are you just agreeing?
Yeah, I agree that it, should be go through agent approval. I just wanted to put my 2 cents worth in about a hand dug footing. I mean, they'll need a building permit for this.
Yes.
And therefore they'll have to have the footings go down to frost level, which I don't know, is 42 inches maybe out here. And that can be pretty deep for hand dug. So somebody at some point might want to bring in a small machine, which is just a note.
Yes.
So I many times have tried to do hand dug footings and given up.
You can't get stitches without hitting a rock.
Exactly.
It's a
sounds
noble
nice.
effort.
Yeah, that's a long way to go without hitting a rock.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
We'll clarify.
yeah, so I guess we can leave that with you, Ben. Do we have
Okay.
to do a motion or can we just? I guess we just bump it to you because it's just.
That's fine. Yep.
All right, So our next application is 22-30, 183 Race Hill Road. This is Bob Sedun, who's not here tonight. Regulated activity to clear invasives and cut dead trees in a wetland review area. I think what I had is it wasn't clear about the wetland. And I think, Aaron, you had mentioned that it's not whether it's town or not town.
Yes, I did have a couple questions, and I happened to miss Bob when he had come in to drop off his application, and he had a conversation with John DeLora. There's question as to whether or not the trees are within the town right of way or on private property, on Bob's property, as he included an encroachment permit in his permit documents. So my recommendation in talking to the engineering department was to have the tree warden go out and take a look, verify if they are on town property. If they're on town property, the tree warden does have to tag those trees for removal and verify that they are in fact dead or diseased. Bob had indicated that he wanted to replace some of those trees with white pines, 6 to 8 foot white pines. And I think the town's recommendation would be to put those on his property and not within the right of way. So as far as the exact location, I think we need just a little bit more information from Bob, and also where the inland wetlands are with respect to these specific trees. So I was going to take a drive out. I do think this is probably, at this point, I would act conservatively and say it's an agency approval and not an agent approval, because I don't know specifically how far the wetland system is.
Okay.
Since Bob's not here to give us any additional information, I think we just keep it on. If you are doing site walks, you're welcome to walk it, or I can go out and take pictures. It's right on the road. I think that's at this point, I would say leave it as a full agency application, and we'll get the additional information we need for the next meeting. But just determine if you want to drive by it individually to look at it on Race Hill, or if you want to schedule an actual site walk.
Probably just having pictures, if they're right by the road, should be okay.
You were just across the street actually last month for 184. Did anyone notice?
No, I wish I had.
We could have done a 2-for-1 if he had gotten his application in time.
Yeah, it's a pretty road. I'll just drive by.
I'll drive by also.
Yeah, so I think that's fine. And so we'll keep it on as for next month. So our next application is one that came in that was in the amended agenda, is 22-32, 1389 Durham Road. The applicant wants to do a 3-car garage addition with a bedroom and bathroom above a wetland, a bathroom above within a wetland review area. I looked at I would add this onto our site walk list personally, but I'm happy to entertain what you all think. This is a lot of paving. It's a lot. I'm not going to remember, but it was like 2,300 square feet or 2,600 square feet or 3,200 square feet of pavement coming in. A pretty big addition, a pretty big activity. But do you?
Correct.
Yeah. So are there, that was my initial thought. I was like, wow, that's a lot for this space. Are there other thoughts?
When I looked at it, I thought we needed a site visit too. I don't remember why, but so I'm all for a site visit.
Okay.
I think Lee, I can kind of pick up. There's a head wall. So there's a pipe drainage system essentially that is an open water course across that bisects the property. And this proposed driveway is running parallel to the water course. And
yeah, I didn't think the plans were very clear. I mean, that was a note that I wrote to myself. So site visit would be helpful.
Right, and the boundary of the inland wetland slash water course was not delineated on the plan
Right,
Right.
right.
by a soil scientist. It's just identified as a stormwater swale.
Yeah. So unless there's objections, maybe we'll phrase it this way. Unless there's objections, we'll add this to our site walk before the following meeting. Okay, great.
Okay with that.
Is this property north of the circle?
Yes. It's up near Princess Drive.
Okay. I agree on a site walk.
Great. Okay, and then our other application for receipt is 22-33 Brookside Road. This is an application, I guess, from the Hearth to do a paving.
Actually, an application that Gulick Construction is making. Their engineer of record is Greg Fettis of Fettis Engineering. It is a cross property that is owned by the Hearth, known as Brookside Road. However, that is a private access way that is owned by the Hearth. The Gulicks have recently gone through the Planning and Zoning Commission and received approval for a modification of a special exception to construct 5 residential units on their property at 45 Wall Street. And that project included the paving through an agreement with the neighbors on Brookside. It included the paving of Brookside Road up to the 100-foot review line. And so now that the process of going through the Planning and Zoning Commission is completed, to honor the agreement with some of the other neighbors on Brookside, they have agreed to install some stormwater drainage and pave further to allow the driveway to reach the last 2 residents prior to the water course in the end of Brookside Road. So in my opinion, I would recommend a site walk to familiarize yourself with Brookside Road and the water course down at the end of the road.
Yeah, there's a lot of wetland down there. So the Wall Street properties, are those ones that have wetland review then? Are they gonna, or they
No.
don't?
No, 45 Wall Street is outside the 100-foot upland review
Okay.
area. Previously, I believe it was in 2018, they received approval for 9 residential units. The Gulicks have come back since to downsize that project to reduce it to 5 units.
Okay.
It would be a separate building in the back, which is separated from this actual paving. That if this project doesn't move forward, there's still the ability to construct what they're doing on the property at 45 Wall. This is above and beyond in an agreement with the neighbors to try and continue the paving so that they're not dealing with the maintenance of a gravel access way, essentially. So the regulated activity is installation of stormwater drainage system and paving of the remainder of Brookside Road.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to do a site walk. I don't, others, anybody else?
Now let's do a sidewalk.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's been helpful to see all these properties and do site walks. I think it's especially, we've got paving near wetland. Okay,
Yep.
so great, we'll do that as well. All right, perfect. So that takes us to our section 13. So we have a septic repair and an elevated screen porch. And again, these are already done.
These were done, were ones that John finished
Okay,
prior to.
right, prior to
One-
its,
Yes.
Right.
One is just a basic septic repair.
and the other looks like it's like 85 feet away from the closest wetland flag.
Right.
Okay,
Yep, the first was a failure on Harkness. And the other was straightforward.
Okay, well, that's excellent, and those are done. So that takes us to approval of minutes. So I have read through, hopefully you all have read through, so we don't get a big backlog of minutes again. That is our goal, not to have that again. That was bad. The minutes from June 6, 2020. Let me see, there were a couple of super minor typos that I think are fine the way they are. I didn't have any other comments. Did anybody else have comments on the meeting minutes from June 6th?
I have one. On 2236 on page 3, I guess on the motion that I made, said I made a motion to schedule a sidewalk. That should be a sidewalk. And
I missed that one.
And my memory was that, wasn't this the one that we were going to schedule the site walk in July rather than in June?
Is this Boston Post Road?
Yes.
Yes, it was going to be a July as opposed
So
to.
I don't know whether we need to note that in the minutes, because the minutes kind of imply that we're going to schedule a site walk in June and not delay until July. But the big one is site walk versus sidewalk. So
Yeah, that's a good one. I missed that. That's probably a reasonable one to change. Although it's kind of interesting to schedule a sidewalk, whatever that is. All right, other comments on the meeting minutes?
No comments.
All right, all in favor of, well, I make a motion, I'll just make a motion that we approve the meetings as amended and noted.
second,
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Right, nobody's opposed.
I have to abstain.
Oh, we got one abstention. Okay. All right, and then we have our site walk meeting minutes from what day? The 25th.
no comments, no comments from me.
Yeah, I didn't have any comments either. Right, so
Who took the minutes?
John,
John.
Oh,
John
okay.
Flora.
I don't see him writing. Okay.
yeah, he took the minutes when I was watching. He took the minutes while we were there. So and that's great.
Okay.
I thought I didn't have any comments.
Unless you'd like to volunteer, Joe, now that I'm doing sidewalks.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you're volunteering or
I'll
not.
volunteer.
Um,
I
Hey.
get verbose.
Oh, forget it.
all right, all in favor, do we need so I move that we approve the minutes with no comments. Second,
Second,
all right, approved, excellent. Okay, so those are done, which is excellent. Comments from the Inland Wetlands Chair. Well, I guess I would like to welcome Aaron as our duly authorized agent. Thank you for stepping up and doing two hats and helping us out. It'll be appreciated.
I'm glad to. You're under my umbrella anyways, so
Yeah.
no, I'm happy to, and was hoping to have an environmental planner on board at this point, so we could start making some changes within our department and as far as organization and application process and things like that. And I'm sorry we don't yet, but I'm willing to start implementing some of these things that.
So
we've talked
I
about.
know I missed the opening comments, but the activity must have ramped up at least 100% over the last year. So I can't imagine
Yeah.
we don't have a wetland agent who only focuses on the wetland activity. It's been incredible.
Sure is. We've gotten a lot more activity. And that's the goal. And I'm hoping in the fall we'll be able to fill that. We were close, but no such luck this past spring. So Again, I'm happy to use, take this opportunity to help you and use some of those funds for our environmental planner to outsource some other planning responsibilities to help balance the roles here. So we'll get through it and do the best we can. I generally speaking, I like to follow most applications that come through the agency anyways, because they're eventually going to find their way through further on down through the land use department for other permitting. So it's
Yeah,
important to know what's going
my
on.
only comment is I don't think the commission should have to tell applicants to put more on the plan. So if it's beneficial for the applicants to give you plans that you will find acceptable long before we see them on the.
Well, in an ideal world, yes, but I'm not going to keep them from you, even if they're incomplete applications. But I will plan to do staff reviews of applications prior to discussion, so that I can hopefully iron out at least some of these general information items that should be standard and needed for more detail, so that you can thoroughly review the applications and make your decisions. Especially now that you're doing receipts and not necessarily presentations at that time of receipt. So I think that staff does play a little more active role in that preliminary review process.
Yeah, I think that'll be great. And I think, you mentioned maybe not tonight, but having a discussion about maybe some things we can start implementing. Like if we are going to ask applicants to have the wetland scientists of record on their plans, which in general, I think is fine, that would be well ahead before they get to us. Because
Yes.
I think what Joe's referencing, it does seem, unfair and kind of onerous to come to, the second meeting or whatever and be like, oh, you don't have this.
I agree.
And so it would be nice. And I think it is, wetlands change. And I totally, you see it all the time. I think it is useful to have updated wetland delineation when people are doing applications. So I don't know how that changes, but I would be in favor of something ahead of the game, that they do before they actually come before us.
Sure. I think the three items that I wanted to at least let you know that I'm hoping to present to you either at the next meeting or September, depending on what our application load is. If August is fairly light, then maybe I'll bring it through for August, since we don't have this Barbary Hill public hearing scheduled anymore until September. One was to implement some standard permit conditions that the commission, the agency, you're gonna have to bear with me. I have commission on the brain from planning and zoning, and and my previous gig in Guilford, they were a commission also. So agency doesn't come naturally out of my mouth, but I'm trying to correct myself. However, having some basic standard permit conditions that should be applied to every application, such as ENS controls, notification of when work is going to begin, other things like that. I'd like to provide you with an example, and then so those would be standards for each application, and then you can get into specific site-specific conditions that would apply to unique to that situation. I think that's beneficial to have across the board. Another item I'm working on are new application forms for all of our boards and commissions. They're outdated and can be simplified, and again, an opportunity to highlight what specifically you're looking to have submitted at the time of application. That also includes updating our permit application fees, and that I'm looking to do across all the boards through the land use department. That's an ordinance change that I need to initiate through the Board of Selectmen, but that's something else that I'm looking to do. Our fees are outdated and pretty low for the extent of work that staff does, and just generally comparison to adjacent municipalities. And then the third would be just to kind of highlight what parameters you're looking for, what would fall under an agent approval. Just so we have some general guidelines moving forward, so that it's not necessarily every meeting saying, is this, what do you think about this one? What do you think, you know? And so I did this previously in Guilford as well. We just kind of had a working sheet and went back and forth of what the agency was comfortable with. And using that just for a reference moving forward. So, and if you have anything else that you'd like to work on, again, this is our opportunity to kind of fix up issues that we may see or enhance what's working.
Okay, well, so that sounds great. And so maybe we can all think about, you know, and maybe when we're on, you know, we can all think about it. And I guess if we have anything, we can email you.
Sure.
Talk about it whenever we talk about it. But I think it'll be useful for us as well to think about, you know, if we're gonna, you know, change things, what do we like, what might be improved, what might streamline some of these applications. That all sounds.
Yeah. One other is, you know, moving forward into even for next year planning purposes, do you want to schedule regular month instead of always scheduling a special meeting for a site walk? Do you want to just assume that a certain, you know, third weekend or a certain day of the month is a scheduled site walk? If you don't have anything for that month, you can always cancel it. Or if you'd like something, if this is going to become the norm of scheduling site walks, it just might be for ease of getting everybody on board for days that might work. That's another option. But I'll make sure whatever I have to share with you that I share well in advance of the meeting and not the evening of, to get your feedback for any application suggestions or conditions. So, and feel free if you have issues that come up to please reach out and let me know.
No issues. Are we the last town to meet in person?
To not meet, oh, that is an option also. However, the statute has allowed you to meet remotely through December. So.
Okay.
That's really at the agency's discretion if you'd like to be in person. The only thing that I was holding back on as far as with Planning and Zoning Commission, I've noticed some challenges in hearing the audio when we do a hybrid. I really think it's a step backwards to just revert back to in-person meetings and not allow a hybrid option for our residents. We did have in my opinion, an increase in accessibility to both our meeting materials and to attending our meetings. And if we're going to move forward with in-person, I would really like to allow for that hybrid capability. In doing that, we've had some challenges with having people man the camera in meeting room A while live streaming onto YouTube and having that Zoom ability. And our sound system has been challenging. I don't know if anybody's attended any of the Board of Selectmen meetings via hybrid, but I've had trouble also hearing some of the board members while attending remotely. So I'm working with our IT department and the First Selectman's office to try to iron out some of those kinks because we have applications that could end up in appeals process. So I don't want to ever be in this situation where we're preventing someone from participating in a meeting when we offer that hybrid capability. So I'm
noted.
That's my general thought. I think in person is great, and I think remote has been great also. I think we'll continue to update and keep all of our documents online because it's useful for both the agency and members of the public to have all current information. My goal is to have not only the documents linked through the agenda center, so you'd have to go if the current agenda or the upcoming meeting hasn't yet been posted, people have to go to the old agenda to find documents. My goal is to update our actual inland wetlands or land use page to have links to application documents and pending applications right on our page, so that you don't have to go back and forth trying to find an agenda.
So I agree on that. I think remote, I mean, generally, like for teaching, for me, remote is not great. In person is better. I agree that we have had so much more public participation with, it's so much easier for people to jump on. And I actually think it's nicer for all the applicants, because not everybody doesn't have to come at 7 and sit there forever waiting for their application to come up. Anyway, I think I like being in person, but I think being remote has been helpful and has allowed a lot of people to participate and be at our meetings that might not have been, which is good, which is great.
Yeah.
It could be where we ask, larger applicants, that are proposing more disturbance to be in person. And then the folks that are doing like sheds or something like that could be hybrid if they choose to.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the hybrid model for the town is. And, so I think, unless there's a push, we can keep remote for however long we get to keep remote.
Right.
And then you can get everything ironed out.
I kind of wanted to hold off on offering that in person till we at least iron out some of our sound system issues.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. Okay, so there's another last motion to make, unless anyone has more comments.
I have one comment. At the beginning of the meeting, I indicated that I tested positive for the COVID on 4th of July, and Sunday I was clear. I wasn't that sick, but I'm very, very tired, but I did not fall asleep during the meeting.
That's great.
Kudos.
Way to go, John.
Yay. Well, that's
I'm glad you're on the mend.
Yeah. Yeah, that is good that you're on the mend.
And it shows we're not in the clear yet.
Right.
No.
So,
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Hey, Lee's stepping up.
Joe seconds.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, excellent. Okay, it was great seeing you. And Aaron, you'll get back to us on sidewalks, and
no.
we'll see you at the sidewalk. Great.
I